good, everyone? Welcome back to the Strong.Sistas YouTube channel.
In today's video, we are going to talk to you guys about our plan for reintroducing carbs into our diet. So why are we eating carbs? In yesterday's video, we went over this whole story about how we have not had our periods, so we have not ovulated regularly for years. This does not have to do with keto or carnivore diet. This has to do with the way we've lived our lives many years ago, and we've seen the negative repercussions since. So our goal now is to get our periods back. I'll link that video with all those details in the description below for you to check out. Just as a recap, going keto and carnivore particularly, we've been full carnivore for about a year now, has been so powerful for our health. We had to deal with underlying autoimmune symptoms, and going carnivore has finally put all of our autoimmune disease symptoms into remission.
So our main goal right now is to slightly transition to more of a carnivore-ish diet.
And the reason we are messing with carbs is because that is one variable within our diet that is missing, and our period's still missing, so why not give it a shot? There is some data to show that especially active females, we're very active individuals, could benefit and will benefit from having carbs in their diet. So that is why we're doing this all. Again, I'll link that video below for you to tune into that if you're interested. But in today's video, we're going to go over how we plan to do this, so how we plan to introduce carbs with hopefully
which carbs?
Not seeing any autoimmune symptom flare-ups. Like she said, which carbs, and we'll show you some of our carnivore-ish plates with some carbs on them.
Yes. So an overall summary of our approach is to use the most benign carb sources with the least amount of toxins, the least amount of anti-nutrients, and to try to source these carb sources from local vegetable farmers to, again, remain sustainable with our diet approach.
The reason the low toxins and the less anti-nutrients are important, particularly for us, is because, and for anybody who has an autoimmune condition, is you do not want those excess toxins in your body that can result in symptom flare-ups. That's why carnivore diet is so powerful for that, because you remove them.
Yeah.
So reintroducing them in high levels is likely not a good idea. If you're somebody who's still suffering from your autoimmune condition, we don't know where we sit there. This is all uncharted territory, so we are going to experiment and play it safe as best as we can. So hopefully these tips will help you if you're somebody who is interested in incorporating less benign or more benign sources of carbs into your diet.
So first, let's discuss kind of which carbs we plan to use. So first, some carnivore carb sources. So definitely some honey and some A2 milk, and then from that A2 milk we'll have some yogurt, kefir, things like that.
The reason A2 and not A1 is, again, there's some indication that A1 dairy can mess with your period. We're just playing it safe on all levels. She's also had a sensitivity test done before in the past, and she showed she was sensitive to A1 milk, so just going to knock that off the board. We're not even going to mess with it since we're trying to do this right the first time.
And then the plant sources that we will include that are relatively low in toxins, it's going to include squash, carrots, sweet potatoes, some cucumbers, zucchini, stuff like that, berries, and then some non-sweet fruits like avocado and potentially some olives. What are some other things?
You hit all the main points. I'd say that's good. So
and pumpkin, and maybe some algae, because algae is not a plant, not an animal. It's this weird
question mark.
Yeah. So those are some of the carb sources that we'll be exploring during this time.
And on the flip side, definitely avoiding the more toxic things. If you're at this video and you're like, plants aren't toxic, what are you talking about? If you have a leaky gut, some plants will aggravate it more than others.
Things that we will definitely be avoiding.
Things like cruciferous vegetables, just not necessary.
Grains, so wheat,
not necessary.
Rice, corn, soy,
nope.
And nightshades as well, because we have found that those have irritated us.
It's going to be a no from me, dog.
Yeah.
So that is a brief overview. As we keep going through these experiments, we'll chart it all out more in a really easy to follow format if you're somebody, like I said, who's interested in doing this with us. So don't worry, it's not going to be confusing.
Okay, so next up, after sources, let's talk about amounts.
Okay, so
how many carbs will we be including each day?
Right, so think of it this way. We've been coming from a zero carb diet besides carbs within organ meats, which are very insignificant.
Yeah.
So we're coming from a place of zero carbs. So There is some data showing that women can benefit from anywhere from 100 to 200, ideally around like 150 grams of carbs, just for the sake of hormonal health. I don't think that you need to go any higher than that. I don't think that there is really any benefit from a super high carb diet. I think you would be better off playing it safer in terms of your keeping good insulin sensitivity and keeping your blood sugar in check. So we are going to start at just a little middle ground of 70 grams a day. For our size, we'll see. And we are going to use that factor, so carbs, that variable, carbs, and we're going to play with it. So we're going to start at 70 because, again, this is our first time reintroducing them consistently in almost a year. So it wouldn't make sense to just like go all in 150 grams. And we're going to go from 70 and maybe see if we need to get up to 150.
We'll see.
The main takeaway here is that for our personal goal, which is to re-regulate our hormones and get our periods back, we have to be consistent with it, and that's going to take months. So this is something that we will learn in time what the optimal amount is.
Yeah.
And I think to start, it's 70 grams for us.
For us, and some things to consider, like we are relatively lean individuals. We are active individuals. We hit 15,000 steps a day, and we also do like our garage at home workouts. So we are high volume training athletes. And so that number just may vary depending on your activity level and what your current like lean state is.
Absolutely. So I have been put in charge of getting our hormones back. So if we fail, it's my fault. I will take the blame.
Yeah.
But she's trusting me, and that means a lot because she's usually the sciencey one.
Yeah.
So,
but now we are going to head to our local cooperative grocery store to see what like local produce they have. We haven't been in the produce section in so long, so this will be a little fun.
Because we're all aware of the times. Our local co-op is really good about social distancing. We can't go in the same area as other people at the same time. Everybody's really wearing face masks there, so we're safe. Don't worry.
Yeah. So we found some carrots that were grown locally to us. So we've got some orange carrots, and then also some purple carrots, and some yellow carrots. So we'll be able to buy these and support a local vegetable farmer, which is cool. Also going to pick up some squash that was grown in the US of A. Also going to get some sweet potatoes since they were also grown locally and are on sale. I'm not sure what is the best one to choose. Guys, should we do the long, thin ones or the big, fat boys? Alright, just got home from the store. I'm going to show you guys what we picked up. So as we showed in the store, we found some colorful carrots.
Yes, we got some orange, yellow, and purple carrots from the locally grown. So these are kind of cool.
So then we got some kabocha, right? Kabocha squash and some butternut squash.
So these were the only two squash varieties that were grown relatively locally.
Yeah.
We also got some sweet potato. Sweet potato was grown locally as well.
Yeah.
So these are the more root squash produce that we're going to be incorporating. So this is definitely a little higher carb than the squashes. So this is more starchier. Mm-hmm. If you're somebody who's like doing keto carnivore and you're trying to keep a lower carb count, this would not be like the best option. You'd be better off with the like these ones. That's why I'm like, if you look at all the keto plans, they use a lot of things like spinach and broccoli and
we're not including any of those.
Because those are really low carb. So our focus here is not to minimize carbs, it's to minimize toxins. Important distinguishment.
Very important.
So let's see what else we got. The next thing we got are sheep yogurt.
Sheep, S-H-E-E-P.
It sounded like I said sheep. Sheep yogurt, and this is sourced relatively locally. We have made our own goat milk yogurt, and we still have some of that, so we'll use that as well, but we will run out before...
Let's tell them, like, why sheep?
So sheep yogurt is A2 dairy, so it is not cow's milk, just like goat's milk is A2 dairy. There are forms of cows, like Jersey cows, that are also A2 dairy.
Yeah.
But so this is just a really good option if you are, like, sensitive to dairy or you want to avoid the potential downfalls of A1. The only ingredients are pasteurized sheep milk and cultures. So our mindset here is that something like this with cultures in it will be a good idea to possibly refurbish our guts with some healthy bacteria, since because
our guts are not used to
We're incorporating a bunch of like foods that we haven't eaten in a long time. So that is why we are doing a little bit of this.
Yeah. And then to put into the yogurt, we also got some berries. We were unfortunately not able to find these locally sourced, but Hannah, Montana.
Nobody's perfect. I gotta work it again and again till I get. I think that brings to light that it is actually really difficult to eat a fully seasoned plant-based diet all year long. We're not going to go into that right now, but
we'll be able to find some summer berries, but there weren't local berries. But we wanted to try some blueberries and some strawberries to put in that yogurt. That'll be very good. And then the last item that we picked up this week are some olives. So olives have relatively low toxins. They're like a non-sweet fruit. And honestly, I don't know if I've ever tried an olive.
I've never had an olive. I always just claimed I didn't like olives.
This is another good choice for people who are looking for low carb options. 5 olives is 1 gram of carb.
Hey, Daddy.
Yeah, talking to our father. Get some olives.
But yeah. Olives have always been kind of on my I don't really know what that is list, so I'm excited to try these.
Alright, time to make Plato 1. This is going to be a weird cooking experience because we have only cooked meat for so long. Yeah. Like, what do we even
grill master? So here is an overview of everything we picked up for this week. So we have our more starchy root produce like the squash, the carrots, the sweet potato. We've got those random olives. We've got the sheep yogurt and the berries. So yes, yogurt is carnivore. It also is a great source of carbs and usually fats. You should always buy the full fat. So this one is 10 grams of fat, 8 grams of carbs, and 8 grams of protein per serving. So if you're avoiding carbs for some reason, yogurt may not be the best option. I would definitely recommend, though, to find one that just isn't sweetened with anything, so it doesn't have any specific flavor, and instead flavor it yourself if you want, which you can use berries to flavor it, or some sort of like natural plants, stevia or something, if that doesn't bother you. So this is just plain. Be careful with that, though, because products are notorious for sneaking things in. A lot of the goat milk yogurt we were looking at had random ingredients such as like tapioca starch, and that might bother you if you're super sensitive. So just a note on the yogurt. This one's just plain. And yep. So this is what we're going to work with this week, and we'll see how it goes.
Busting out the Keto Coach to track my blood ketones today. I have not measured my blood ketones in like over 6 months. I just not have found a need to. So I'm curious. I'm going to see what it is before my meal and after my meal. Sarah really isn't necessarily interested in tracking this type of stuff. I am just a science data nerd. Sarah's much more deeper connection to fixing her hormones, so it's not as big of a deal with her. I'm just interested in tracking this along the way. If I am not in ketosis, oh well, but I just am curious. So let's see. I have not tracked my ketones in quite a bit of time. And we used to use the Keto Mojo, but apparently the Keto Coach is more accurate. I do not know. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. So I am at 0.9. I am in ketosis. Let's see where I am later. So Sarah just yelled at me. So something that she thinks that I need to work on is that I am like kind of too much in like professor teacher mode, and so I always want to teach people things, and like I just sometimes can't stop myself from explaining why. It's just my natural instinct. So I'm gonna work on it, guys. Okay, but just as a note for ketones, don't go chasing keto numbers like TLC says. Don't go chasing keto numbers, because when you are more fat adapted, fat fueled, your body's going to be more efficient at using fat for fuel, so you're not necessarily going to reflect that in your blood ketone levels. There's a difference between blood ketone levels and then the amount of ketones that are actually in like your muscles, tissues, organs, etc. So just don't go chasing keto numbers. If you're in ketosis, some amount of ketones will show up on those type of tests, but yeah, hey, we may be kicked out of ketosis every once in a while here and there, but is that really the biggest deal? We will see how that affects like autoimmune conditions, etc., etc. But I think ancestrally that kind of makes sense. People like ebbed and flowed out of ketosis as they had access to like local plants, local berries, etc. And they certainly weren't there measuring, am I in ketosis anymore? You know, they just cared about surviving and feeling good and eating foods that made them feel good, and so that they survived till the next day. You know what I'm saying?
high quality animal source of protein, and then we're also getting some protein in from about a cup's worth of this sheep's yogurt. So we tried it, and it really doesn't need any sweetening. It's really tart. It's tangy. Kind of tastes like cream cheese. It's really good. I actually really enjoy it.
Oh my god, that is delicious.
Right? So what we've got going on here is you've got some suet granola. It's not granola. People on YouTube get so triggered when we call things other things, like carnivore french fries. It's suet. It functions as the granola.
It's adding another texture profile.
We've got a lot of blueberries, a lot of strawberries that I thoroughly washed, and then we've got some round steak, so salted with red mint sea salt.
And the reason we went with the yogurt and the berries for this first meal is just because it was a little bit later in the day and we didn't want to spend too much time cooking vegetables, but we'll try some of the vegetables later.
So I really hope you guys don't think we're going bananas. You will never find bananas on our plate.
Yeah, we won't be eating bananas.
I just want to emphasize again, this is something we're doing for our health that stands apart from ketosis and autoimmunity and all of that stuff. So if that's you right now, please don't stray from your own journey. Keep going. We're still with you on that. Like, we will always be carnivore. Now we're just carnivore-ish. I don't know how to express that to you guys as much as I can. I just need to.
Really appreciate you guys following along, but we don't want to trigger people, and it's not like we're going vegan. It's not like we're leaving the carnivore way.
I just need to have babies one day. I gotta get my baby maker working, so let's eat.
Yo.
To say, just to trigger you guys a little bit more, here is a carnivore pizza slice. So we have a thick fat crust as the crust, and then a little bit of round as the topping.
Just lightly seared.
Yeah, so we like to keep our marinara sauce in the middle. Oh. Pretty rare. Yep, carnivore pizza. That's you.
That sheep yogurt was so good. That is definitely going to be a regular. I know a lot of people are going to bring up, oh my gosh, you guys are consuming fructose for your carb sources because fruit berries are higher in fructose. We're not going to rely on fructose as our main carb source, but we're not going to avoid it either. We'll be able to tolerate fructose just fine on occasion. But it's now about an hour after platter number 1, and I honestly feel amazing. We went on a little digestion walk, and I feel amazing. No like brain fog or anything, but gonna check the ketones because why not? 0.4. So still in ketosis. Granted, that wasn't too many carbs, but I would argue that we're pretty metabolically flexible and fat fueled. So it'll be interesting to see how we cycle in and out of ketosis throughout this journey. So now we're gonna make a little bit of an offal stew with some carrots to enjoy for platter number 2.
So for meal number 2, we have quite a colorful plate. There's so much orange. We've got a thick ribeye steak and then some chuck steak for our main source of protein. We've got some butternut squash that we just sliced thinly and then roasted in the oven. And we're going to top that with some melted grass-fed butter and some raw beef suet chunks for a little bit extra fat. And then on the side, we've got this stew that we made. And so we did some slow-cooked carrots, and then there's lamb liver and some beef kidney. So kind of like an offal carrot stew, and it's inside of beef bone broth that Ashley made. So that's going to be the components. So the carbs here are the butternut squash and the carrots. There's a hefty amount of carrots in there.
So some people may remember that we did a targeted carnivore diet experiment last summer of 2019, and we have a video series of our targeted carnivore diet experiment, and you may be wondering, like, what's the difference between what you did then and what you did now? Then our focus was on performance, and so like we weren't prioritizing our health, and so we were really focused on timing those carbs to improve our performance, and we were only doing it about once a week, not consistently.
And we were only eating about 40 grams of carbs, or 20 to 40.
Yeah, and so now we're doing this every single day. We're committing to having these carbs every single day, so it's a completely different lineup and approach. It may not work, but hey, we're going to try.
It's gonna work.
So one day. Thanks for tuning in to this first day of implementing carbs. And
if you're full carnivore and you're like, wow, I hate these girls, That's fine. We have to do this for our health, and we still are animal based. We love carnivore. I think it's so powerful, and what's so relieving is that we can always go back to full carnivore if things fail.
And we're still going to have our carnivore videos.
Oh,
this is not going to take over our channel, so don't you worry.
But if you are interested in tuning in and you want to go on this journey with us, well, stay tuned.
And let us know in the comments below what else you want to hear about this journey, so what else we could share that would be beneficial to any of you guys watching. So,
but until then, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. It really will help us going forward.
And behave like an angel.